I think we'll start, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're joining us. My name is Nyambura Thiongo. I work at the Regional Education Learning Initiative Africa as the country coordinator from Kenya, and I will be your moderator for this session. And just to start us off, some of us joined quite early, which is really exciting because it means this is a conversation that is of interest to us. And we are going to have this conversation in the way we've structured the webinar from the program, and how we see it is that we are going to have a bit of just setting the stage. And after setting the stage, we'll have a presentation from uh, Nganga from Kenya, just giving us some highlights on what they have observed in the work that Dignitas has been doing. And I'll not talk about Dignitas because Nganga will do that as he makes his presentation. And then after that, we're also going to hear from Jane Sebuyungo from Star, Uganda, who will also tell us a bit about what they have observed as they work in Uganda about teacher well-being and teacher agency. And then we will hear from Mahmoudi from Sawa Wanawake in Tanzania, who will also take us through a bit of some of those highlights. Then after the presentations, and there'll be very brief presentations, about 5 minutes each. After that, we are going to have a panel discussion that will be led by Nganga. And the panel is really where the conversation gets interesting because we have some teachers from the 3 countries, and they'll be speaking to us and telling us a little bit more about what they think about teacher well-being. How are we doing in our different countries around teacher well-being and teacher agency? And after the panel, we're going to have a Q&A session, so we get to interact a little bit more and ask some questions to either our teachers or the people that will have made the presentations. And then after that, we're going to have some breakaway sessions to really get an opportunity to exchange learning and hear from also all of you on the work that you're doing. And then after that, we'll reconvene for just reporting, and then we will close with some way forward and probably some key action points. So that is how we have structured the webinar, and we're looking forward to an engaging session. And what I would like to request all of us to do right about now is on the charts, when you think about teacher well-being, or when you hear somebody talk about teacher well-being or teacher agency, what 1 or 2 words comes to your mind? And I'd like to request that we engage on the chat. So you could um, type on the chat. So the question is, when you think or hear about teacher well-being or teacher agency, what comes to your mind? What 1 word or 2 words come to your mind? Please share with us on the chat. Would be happy to hear your thoughts on this. And we will also be recording the webinar. So in case you have, I think there's already a pop-up that has come on our screens to notify us that we'll be recording the webinar. So thank you to those that are already responding. And the question I will repeat probably for the people that are just joining us. When you hear someone talk about teacher well-being or teacher agency, what 1 or 2 words comes to your mind? So I can see social and psychological well-being. From Catherine, I can see. From Darlene, I can see balance. From Isel, teacher agency is innovation. Solomon, empowered decision making, support. From Judith, Grace says empowerment. Matthew says holistic health of the teacher. Samuel Nganga says remuneration. Daniel, support and balance. Catherine, satisfied and make decisions. Anduko says teacher support. Lucian says support. Catherine again says teacher agencies, teacher authority. And it's interesting to see the feedback that we are getting. And I hope as we get into this conversation, our speakers, you can see what the expectation in terms of what our team and the people we are having a conversation with today think about teacher agency and centering teacher well-being. So please continue sharing your thoughts on this. And as I do the setting of the stage, I just want to give us a little bit of a background on why this conversation is important to us. So the Regional Education Learning Initiative, which was formed in 2017, as you can hear from the name, is a learning initiative, and so we foster learning and collaboration as well as advocacy among our members. And our members are in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And currently, we have a membership of 71 across the three countries. And part of the work that we do and how our members get to learn from each other is through the thematic groups or thematic areas. One of them being values and life skills. We have equity and inclusion. We have accountability. And finally, we have learner-centered teaching or the teacher development support. And so from that and from what we are doing within the webinar today, this really falls within what our members are doing within the learner-centered teaching or teacher development support thematic area. And so it's an interesting conversation for all our members, but also for the partners that we have. And today, when we think about centering teacher well-being and agency, we are really thinking about really being a platform where we can provide a platform for the teachers to express themselves, but also for us as partners who work in this space to be able to exchange learning on the work that we are doing, but also to think about innovations. And so today, as we get into this conversation and dialogue, we would invite you to really share your thoughts on what is working around teacher well-being. While the budgets were being read for the three countries, that is Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, I know most of us were keen to see the kinds of budget allocation that have been done to the education sector. And for example, in Kenya, we have the biggest budget at the national level. But then when you look at how the budget has been divided into the different elements, you'll notice how much money, for example, goes to the teacher bodies. But when you go really deep down to think about how does that money really get to even where the teacher is in terms of empowering the teacher, you'll notice the discrepancies. And this is not just a case for Kenya, it's a case for the three countries. And so the question today is, if we do expect that the teachers, and they are the first people that we know interact with our learners, our children, and we are seeing the kinds of budgetary allocations that are made to the well-being of the teachers and the teachers, even to ensure that they have their capacity built amidst what is happening in terms of the competency-based curriculums. Then what do we need to do to make sure that our teachers are really being heard, but also their well-being is taken care of so that it can also extend to our learners. So today we welcome you to really engage with us on this. And we do hope that by the end of this conversation that we will get space and we will find this conversation useful for us to continue engaging in it and to also continue supporting our teachers in whatever they will tell us in our panel discussions. So welcome. I have just seen my CEO joining the call. And Irene, if you are in a place where you could just say good evening, good afternoon, it would be great. But if not, you can alert me when you are, and I'll be happy to also give you an opportunity to say something.
Sorry, I can quickly just say hello, Nyambura, and welcome the participants as well as the panelists. But I will not be able to turn on my camera for long because I'm actually at the hospital. So you will excuse me, I'm following the conversation, but I'll not be able to engage much. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. For those of you that haven't met Dr. Irene, at least now you have. So Dr. Irene Nyamo is the current Chief Executive Officer of Rally Africa. And it's really nice for you, Irene, to join amidst what's as much as you're in the hospital. So I will now pass this on to Nganga. Nganga, you have about 5 minutes.
Great. Thank you, Nyambura, and good afternoon, everyone. We're so honored to have you here this afternoon. Our CEO is also here with us. Steve, if you're in a position to just say a quick hello, karibu.
Asante sana. I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation. This is Steve Karithi, Dignitas CEO.
Good, great. Thank you, Steve. So yeah, just to start us off with Dignitas, and why we are so passionate and really looking forward to this conversation. We are a 16 turning 17-year-old organization that has been working the space of building the capacity of teachers, instructional leaders, and even picked up working within the system with the system actors, all with the objective and vision of ensuring that children are able to enjoy a very vibrant, a very safe, and a very accommodative learning environment, with a key focus that they are able to thrive and succeed. But as we've walked this journey, we've grown to appreciate a couple of things. Amongst them is the role that teachers play. And I read somewhere this week about the value of a teacher. And one of the things that was said is that key to the success of any learner is the impact a teacher has on that particular learners. And for that, as an organization, we really do value teachers, the work they do, and also instruction leaders, the role they play in supporting teachers so that they can succeed in their role of educating our children and ensuring that our children feel safe and appreciated even as they come to the schools that we enroll them in. So as we've done this work over years, one of the things we realize is we are in the space where we build capacity. We're in the space where we provide different tools and resources to teachers, to educators. And one of the things we realized as we did this is key to our work is collecting data. And more often than not, we tend to hold onto our data just behind our machines. And 3 years ago, we created a platform, we call it Voice, the value of insights, collaboration, and evidence, where we share this data with teachers and with school leaders. And with time, this space has grown, and we realized that this is actually a space that is very open, where school leaders, where teachers can be vulnerable to discuss the issues as they are, the challenges they face, the wins that they have within the school setting. And this is informed by data. And we got an opportunity to even drive this conversation further. And I've been having a part series where we've been meeting with different key stakeholders, especially teachers and school leaders, for them to share more. And one of the things that's been coming out from these particular conversations is the value of resources and how teachers feel that this is an enabler, especially for them when they need to deliver the curriculum, when they need to deliver lessons. Further to this, teachers have also been telling us that they also enjoy the support and really do appreciate coaching, not supervision, but coaching, that they feel empowered and it challenges them to even improve on their pedagogy. One of the key things that also comes out from these conversations around mindset. And when you speak about mindset, it's a space in which a teacher is in as they teach. It's a space in which a school leader is in as they lead. And this informs a bulk of our conversation today. And as we start this first series of talking about teacher well-being and agency, we want to hear from the teachers themselves. When we talk about teacher well-being, we all have a shared understanding of what that is. When we speak about teacher agency, we all have a shared understanding of what that is. And most importantly, what role can we play as a key education stakeholders to support teachers to ensure that their well-being is prioritized and their agency is ensured so that they also can inform decision-making. They can make decisions on their own to ensure that learning takes place and the curriculum is delivered effectively. Thank you, Nyambura. I'll stop there for now in the interest of time and hand over back to you.
Thank you, Nganga. And I would like to welcome Jane. And Jane, I know Star Uganda has really been one of the organizations, especially in Uganda, that is really passionate about teacher well-being. And you could tell us a little bit more about what you have actually learned when you're doing your work, and also in terms of what opportunities do we see. And as you also relate to Uganda, you could also maybe speak about what STAR is currently doing to enhance teacher well-being and agency. Jane?
Thank you very much, Nyambura, and everyone for giving me this opportunity. My name is Jane Sevyongo. I work for STAR Education, and a member of Rally Africa, Teacher Development and Support in Uganda. I'd like to share the experiences we've learned as STAR Education in supporting teacher well-being and agency. STAR briefly is an INGO that supports education systems reignite intrinsic motivation so that every teacher and every learner or education official is motivated to keep learning and improving in their professional journey. We want to create a world where teachers love teaching, genuine love for teaching, and children love learning. We operate in over 119 districts out of 146 in secondary and 64 districts in primary. We look at a system-led approach where we work with government to align our interventions and work to support national priorities that support teacher professional development. We mainly partner with government of Uganda to deliver the system-led approach, right from the national government official, government departments of teacher education, basic education, secondary education, gender unit, to ensure that how do we align teacher professional development to support creating teacher networks through even great partnerships outside government. For example, Rally Africa, we work with different foundations to see that we support teacher development. We use our approach of school-based continuous professional development, which are anchored on the principles of intrinsic motivation. Why do we do what we do? We want to amplify the work and support the work, to connect the work that we do to support the national teacher policy, to support the National Teacher Incentive Framework for Uganda, and also to support the rollout of the lower secondary curriculum, and also the basic education in Uganda. What is STAR Education's approach to support intrinsic motivation? But most importantly, how do we promote teacher agency and teacher well-being? We believe that intrinsic motivation is core to unlocking teacher agency. We anchor it using STAR's approach. Dan Pink, 2009, talks about the three principles of intrinsic motivation, that is promoting autonomy, giving teachers the opportunity to master their practices, and also to give teachers an opportunity to connect with others, to have a sense of purpose. So we promote agency through autonomy in the programs that we implement, in the delivery of the program, in the design of the program. We want the teachers to feel in control of what they are doing to achieve their goal. We want them to be interested and make choices and decisions to do their work in the classroom, because they are best placed to take leadership in adapting to and also improving their classroom. Also, we want them to master their practices. They say, how do you promote teacher agency? By empowering stakeholders, the teachers, to be confident in the practices. Once you give them a guide, they can adapt it because they are best placed to know the situations in which they work. We also believe by creating an environment, a safe environment where teachers work together in networks, share challenges, share insights how to solve the challenges, and how to improve the teaching and learning experiences. Therefore, briefly, our approach looks at role modeling this from the district level, regional level, classroom level, and even at the national level. So peer networks, the ones that you see here, where 30 or 40 teachers sit together every month and reflect on their challenges, look at a solution that this could solve our challenge, and then plan and adapt. Then invite a peer to come and observe them and have reflections, create actions, and feedback on their practices. We believe peer networks offers voice They offer insights on challenges for teachers, but they are opportunities to co-create solutions that promote their agency and well-being. Reflections are opportunities for teachers to reflect together what worked for us, what didn't work, and therefore let us take leadership on this to the next level. At STAR, we promote autonomy. Why? Teacher agents looks at let the teacher shape their development, their improvement. We encourage them to have meaningful discussions, to have probing, to dictate the course of action to improve the learning outcomes in the classroom, not externally driven, but intrinsically driven, having the initiative and the potential. We want the teachers to keep on getting better at their practices by building examples of what great looks like, contextualizing them, creating their stories and case studies, and fostering deliberate practice, and the teachers themselves taking leadership to commit to action on that what works. And then we also enhance by creating a sense of purpose. Why do they choose to do what they want? Let them narrate the reason why. People choose to do things because they know the reason why. And then it is important for them to do it in a network of fellow teachers so that they have safety. They have a network that supports them to work in a community and not in isolation. And lastly, to celebrate their achievements, to recognize them, their actions and improvements. What are our learnings? Just as like you said, the key learnings, we are seeing that teacher agents increases well-being. During COVID-19, when schools closed, teachers were most affected mentally. STAR Education reached out to offer social, emotional well-being strategies. And you know, it was a network. We implemented a radio program where teachers would come and share their experiences and adapt. And together, they felt back again in a network. So we believe when teachers engage in professional development networks, their motivation and well-being and class improvements rise together. There is no way teacher agents is detached from a closed network. Teacher agents also thrives in supportive systems. The government, the policies, the district officials, the school leaders are very key in supporting teacher agency and well-being. If they are left out of the matrix, they cannot improve. System leverage and creating strong partnerships is important. Collaboration in ready networks. Collaboration with government is very key to promote sustainability and support for teacher well-being and agency. It's important when scaling these interventions, but also creating sustainable improvements that last for a longer time. Peer teacher networks create safe spaces for teachers to enhance their agency. And then we've learned also that co-designing the development, the teaching modules with the teachers is important. Without them, without their context, you lose it all. They are the ones who know what best suits their classroom practice, what works for different regions, what works for different areas. And lastly, what opportunities are lying ahead in terms of teacher well-being and agents? As STAR Education, we've learned that motivation is central to sustaining teacher agency and well-being. Without unlocking the teacher potential and desire to improve, without external carrot and stick methods are not sustainable. You need to engage the teacher to take leadership, to make decisions. Secondly, we've learned that opportunities, let's leverage systems for sustainability. System-led approaches are more sustainable. They support the teacher, but also they're existent. Can we tap into the existing structures in the community, in education, to see that we support teacher agency? Next, collaboration is key. Really Africa, Government of Uganda, Ministry of Education and Sports has shown us that this works for sustainability. And teacher networks are safe spaces to enhance teacher well-being and agency. Lastly, amplification. We need to complement one another. As STAR education is great at intrinsic motivation and promoting teacher agency, we see that Dignitas is ahead in engaging school leadership. We need each other to be able to complement one another and have greater impact. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jane. I know for the teams that really work with teachers, they're very passionate about teacher issues. And Jane, as you were winding up, you speak about leveraging on the system and you talk about intrinsic motivation. So the question is, where is the balance? At the end of the day, we'll still need to hear that our teachers and their well-being is catered for. So where is the balance? And I am sure we will be able to engage a little bit more on that, as I'm sure people are curious to learn about both the model that is used by Dignitas around building communities of practice. Jane also spoke about the communities of practice, the networks, teacher networks, because that is a safe space for the teachers where they're able to exchange. But also for our teachers that are in this call today, I think as we go into the panel discussion, the question is, and I think a reflection for you is what we are hearing enough for you in terms of teacher well-being and teacher agency? What more do we need to do, or what are we missing, and where are the gaps? When we talk about teacher professional development, is that really what the teachers feel that is what we need to be looking at? So just stay tuned. The teachers will get an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about that. But right now, I would love to welcome Mahmoudi Ngamaye from Sawa Wanawake, who will also tell us how the situation is in Tanzania, because they also work with teachers and especially around improving teacher well-being. So Mahmoudi, if you can hear me, you could unmute. Yes, there you are. Please go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you very well. Do you hear me as well?
Yes, we do very clearly. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Mahamudi Ngamange. I'm working with the Sawa Wanawake Tanzania, an organization that envisions for a society where women, young girls, and children in Tanzania are treasured in such a way that their basic human rights and needs are met and sustained to improve their livelihood. So as this vision to be realized, Sawa Wanawake Tanzania committed to achieve this vision through provision of various interventions such as training, advocacy, awareness creation, and women and community empowerment through collaboration with the local and central government to improve the well-being of women and children as well. Now, with the training, here comes where we are coming into contact with the teachers, that if the teacher well-being is to be enhanced, they need training to improve their efficiencies in teaching. But we are also looking on the way that their well-being, their social well-being can also be enhanced so that they can sustain themselves to continually work with the schools to impact the children. Now, we are working with the teacher because we know that the teachers' well-being play a crucial role in enhancing the quality of education to the children of Tanzania. We know that if teacher well-being is not going to be considered by the government or some other stakeholders who are engaged with the teachers, their job satisfaction will be considered to be very low to them. They will suffer a certain condition with associated with the job outbound, and we know as a result, their impact to their work of teaching, of supporting children to learn, will somehow end there. They will be getting into the classrooms and being with the children, but with the little or no impact to their work that they are doing with the children. That's why we were thinking on working with the teachers, trying to see in some ways that the government will make sure that the well-being of teachers here in Tanzania is taken into consideration, just as some other measures which are taken by the government to enhance the access of education to children. Now, we are working with the hard-to-reach areas, those far pastoralist communities and so on. We are trying to make those called satellite schools so that children which are very young to walk longer distances to access the schools, then we are trying to make them to construct the classrooms that they will be used as satellite schools so that they can access early learning until they are getting older enough to access far schools for their future learning. Just as it is difficult for the government to construct schools in those areas, it is likewise difficult for the government to send teachers so that they can support those children who are there. Now, we as SAWA are trying to make sure that those children in those satellite schools are also saved by the teachers. So we are trying to look on boys and girls from the natives there who have completed a certain level of education, let's say ordinary level education or higher level education, higher secondary education, and then we impart them with the skills that will support them to stay with the children while we are waiting for the government to send teachers and to support teachers so that they can support these children's learning. But those are some of the challenges that children are facing because of the insufficient, or should I call it, being the well-being of teachers not taken into consideration by the stakeholders. But there are some efforts which have been made by the government to make sure that these challenges are also being taken into consideration. For example, here in Tanzania, the government is implementing several teachers' actions for well-being. For example, we have something which is called imewaka in Kiswahili, which is a method which has been constructed by the government to support teachers so that they can have some sessions to support their well-being in terms of making sure that they are getting training so that they can support well the children. Besides this effort which is made by the government is trying to make sure that teachers' professional development here in Tanzania is taken into consideration. That's why there are several initiatives which is made by the government to support teachers to attend in-service training and some other issues related to foster their ways through which they can support the children. The government also is working further to support teachers in terms of increasing their salary areas, to increase their salaries and try to pay their salary areas so that teachers are not facing the so-called burnout because of their well-being to be not taken into consideration. Yeah, despite the effort that teachers' well-being in Tanzania is taken into consideration, there are persistence challenges that hinders the progress. For example, a significant issue in the inadequate allocation of funds for education leading to low teacher salaries and limited resources for professional development, as we have said. For instance, the education budget has seen a steady decline over the years now. For example, it was from 344 billion in 208 to 209 to 238 billion in 2011 to 2012, which has adversely affecting the teaching of the teachers. And with this case, then the teachers cannot support the children adequately because of the decline of this education budget in Tanzania. So together with some other issues, we think that this program of supporting teachers to have the voice of their own will increase effort done by the government and some other stakeholders to support teachers so that their impact can be seen in their work of supporting children to learn. Thank you so much for that brief.
Thank you so much, Mahmoudi, for sharing that. And I was just saying that we've heard from Nganga, we've heard from Jane, we've heard from also Mahmoudi on what the organizations are doing, but also touched briefly on some of the challenges that we continue to face when we think about the teachers, their well-being and their agency. And I think we are coming into the panel session, which we will hear more from our teachers. And I think just before we get to that session, would like to give an opportunity for us to just take one or two questions, maximum two questions, because we'll have a Q&A session after the panel. But perhaps we could give an opportunity for one or two questions after hearing from the three. If there's any, and if you have any questions, you could also write them on the chat. And if there are no questions, Nganga, then we could go into the panel where we hear more from the teachers on what teacher well-being means to them. So Nganga, I don't see any hands so far. So possibly over to you for the panel session. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you, Nyambura. I think everyone is here to listen to these amazing voices of our teachers. And I love the presentations from both Jane and Mahmoudi, just building into the conversation. There's a lot of conversation around learner and our expectations of teachers. But where do our teachers get to breathe in and out? And today we get to hear a bit from our teachers. But even as we start off, I think it's important to just hear from our teachers. When you talk about teacher well-being, what's the first thing that comes to their mind? How do they define their own well-being? And I'd like to invite three teachers to just speak very briefly towards that. Patrick will start us off, and Johari and Difasi will follow. So Patrick, karibu sana, as you just share with us, when teacher well-being is mentioned, what comes to your mind? How would you define the well-being of a teacher?
Nganga, sorry, Patrick had dropped, so maybe you could go to the other teachers as he
All
rejoins.
right. If Difasi with us, maybe you could start us off with an answer to this question.
Okay, thank you very much. Speaking about teacher well-being, I regard this as the teacher's attributes to physical, mental, social, or worker-related support that these teachers are given during training and even after training when they go out to begin working. That kind of support that they are given to harness their mental or emotional uptakes, to have them physically set for their work that they do. That is what I regard as teacher well-being.
Thank you, Difasi. So the state of being and support, I like that. Patrick, if you've joined us, we are responding to the question, how do you define teacher well-being?
Okay, thank you very much, Nana, and I'm really sorry I dropped. There was an issue with the network. I think I'm clear now.
Yes, you are, very clear.
Oh, okay, thank you. When I talk about teacher well-being, then maybe four things come into mind. Number one, I will talk about the emotional support given to the teacher. how is the school culture? How is it designed? Is the school culture positive that can really make the teacher be emotionally upright? Then I would also talk about the physical health of the teacher. And this one specifically, I would mention something about the workload. How is the workload? Is it something that is manageable? And is the teacher able to have time maybe to plan his work? Does the teacher have maybe non-school days to plan his work so that by the time he gets to class to deliver, then this teacher is not struggling, or maybe is not having inadequately prepared for the same? Then I'll talk about the exposure of the teacher maybe to professional well-being, where the teacher has got avenues for career growth, and also, very importantly, how is the teacher recognized? How is the effort of the teacher recognized by the end of maybe of the term and by the end of the year? Thank you very much, Nana. That's my take.
Good. Thank you, Patrick. So we've had the two gentlemen who are speaking towards the state of being, the nature of support. I think the introduction of the culture within the school, is it enabling enough for a teacher to thrive? But I also like the inclusion of physical well-being and consideration in terms of workload. I think more often than not, we've had this continuous conversation where teachers feel overwhelmed by the load they have. As we continue to think about that, and just to shift gears a little when we talk about well-being, I think the state of mind has been commented on. And I'd like to just ask three teachers to also just share a bit more when they think about the socio-emotional well-being of a teacher or their mental health. How do they feel this has been prioritized, if at all? And I'd invite Chuma, Duta, and Diana to respond. So Chuma, if you're with us, feel free to go first and respond to this particular question.
Hello, good evening. I'm Chuma from Tanzania. I had the question that when you speak about teacher well-being, for myself, it means it is the teacher comfortability. That is, teacher should be well equipped with the teaching methodology. Teacher should be well understandable. Teacher should be well equipped with the content, and the teacher should know what to teach, what to speak, how to integrate with the community. For me, that is what I understand. Teacher how to deal with students, the government, and other stakeholders concerning to education. For me, that is what I call teacher well-being. So that, for example, teacher maybe can have a problem concerning to issue of salary, concerning to issue of health, mental care, and understanding. So I think the leaders should help teacher on how to work or to deal with the student. That is for me that is what I understand as the teacher well-being. Maybe if I'm not confusing. Do you hear me?
Yes, we had you, Chuma, and you've done well to set the tone. And that was quite clear. Nduta, would you like to contribute to Chuma's views and just speak a little more and be a bit more specific when we talk about well-being, specific to socio-emotional well-being and mental health? Do you feel this has been prioritized for you as a teacher? And if not, what do you think we can do differently to prioritize that?
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like the teachers' emotional and mental health is prioritized in my country because the demands keep rising. There's more paperwork, more expectations, bigger classes, more pressure to perform, and yet there's no emotional or mental support. And even if it's there, it's very limited. You don't even have a space to say I'm struggling because you're always seen as if you're professional development. That is the main focus. And not on coping strategies. They don't care about resilience, the mental health. And in most of our schools, including the one I teach in, burnout is treated as normal. Burnout is seen as something that you have to push through rather than something that you can prevent. The emotional labor of teaching, we all know as teachers, the emotional labor of nurturing students, the trauma, the trying to balance between discipline and empathy, especially those of us who teach in the, maybe I can call them the underprivileged areas. The learners are going through a lot. So you deal with a lot as a teacher, and that is not even recognized. Whatever will be recognized is the results, the exams. You are praised for performance, but you're never praised for your emotional endurance. I believe maybe the employer, the community, they should integrate the teacher well-being into policy, into planning, into the school leadership. Last year, 2024 March, the Teacher Service Commission in Kenya introduced something called TMAKE, which is Teacher Induction, Mentorship and Coaching. While it is a very good program, which usually targets the newly employed teachers, the struggling teachers, and the leaders, it's so sad to see that for the struggling teachers, they only look at the professional struggles, like the call, if you are going through the ethics and stuff. I wish the mentors could be more of emotional and mental. So that's my take. I don't feel like it's being prioritized right now.
Thank you, Nduta, and thank you for being vulnerable and just bring it out there that we need to pull up our socks and we need to look beyond results. We are guilty of that. Even we as parents, as we choose schools, we don't choose schools because the teachers are well-being is good. We choose schools because they give good results. So I like the challenge.
Yes.
And I'd like to just cross over to our brothers and sisters in Uganda and invite Diana to just respond to the same question. In the Ugandan context, would you say that socio-emotional well-being or mental health has been prioritized for you as a teacher or for fellow teachers within Uganda?
I think you can hear me now. Good evening to you. This is Diana from Uganda. I want to appreciate you for everything that is going on. Now, in my country, Uganda, I'll speak like the previous speaker. We don't really feel that we are so much supported emotionally and mentally at our workplace. What is funny in Uganda, you find that non-government organizations, not like Star Education and some others, they try so much on issues of support, much more than our government. Now, you find out that in most cases, this mental stress and emotional becomes too much. In Uganda, you find so many teachers are emotionally sick. You find them suffering with mental issues. You find many of them even dying out of stress just because the working environment is not very simple. Right now, if you're to look at the emotional bit, our counseling services from government are not so much of really to the standard. You find in most cases, non-government organizations will always do it better than my very good government. And we feel as teachers of Uganda, this can always be improved on. Stress management is another big challenge in my country, where you find people are dying of stress. Our dear teachers are dying each and every day. They are dying of stress because when you look at the way salaries are paid here, right now in my country, we have a problem where the teachers of humanities, the arts teachers, are on a sit-down strike. They are not teaching in the secondary schools, public secondary schools. Why? They feel they are so much marginalized. There are salary discrepancies. You find a teacher of science is getting 5 million Uganda shillings. Meanwhile, the counterpart of arts is getting 800 Ugandan shillings. And all this is causing a lot of stress, dear ladies and gentlemen. With professional development, you still find we are not yet there. The meetings, the counselings, the whatever, like my friend Jane has shared, you find the network meetings very common. you find very helpful to us as teachers, and all these are initiatives of non-government organizations. The job security is also not very perfect. You find that somebody can be labeled to have absconded from duty because he or she is looking for avenues of survival elsewhere. And you find that things are not really very good here in Uganda. So I would say that emotionally and mentally, here in my country, we are not very much okay. You find resources are not very available. There is unfair treatment of the teachers. You find the motivation is not so much there, especially the extrinsic bit. And things do not really work out so well. And even if it is not to be with emotion and mental, and if you're to talk of the physical, those things of insurance are not here. Opportunities for training, people have to part with a lot of money, which is not even there. So you find that we are so much wanting in that field as Ugandans. I thank you so much for listening to me.
Oh, thank you, Diana. That is powerful and interesting. I wonder in the East African region, when will we outgrow the pandemic of teacher strikes? When will we start prioritizing teachers in such a way that they feel appreciated enough that they don't need to be on the streets to fight for their own rights, but they can be fought for and be paid fairly, supported fairly? There's a statement in the chat that I want to highlight, and I want to invite as many of us as possible who feel they can respond to this particular statement to do that on the chat. And it reads, where teachers feel overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. Let me repeat that. Where teachers feel overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated, how do we get school leadership to routinely contribute to and drive teacher agency and well-being? I'd love to hear just the thoughts of those of us who are on this call, and I'd like you to use the chat as the shift gears to the next question, which kind of brings us to thinking a bit more about agency. When we think about the agency of a teacher, what do we mean? My reading tells me that agency implies that I have the power to. I have room to contribute towards, and it's all around decision making. And as I bring in this question of looking at agency, I'd like to just invite Kaya to just speak a little towards agency. How do you feel as a teacher you have been empowered to have the agency to make decisions or even to influence the process of decision making? And as Kaya shares, feel free to type in just a response to the question. This is a response by Inia, but I'd love to hear what others have to say in the chat room. So over to you, Kaya.
Thank you very much, Nganga, and I enjoyed a lot with the contribution of other members here. Speaking to the issue of agents and experience here in Tanzania, actually, we have actually the representative of teachers of each school, each district, and the region and national level. But they are not really speaking the really problem that teachers are facing. You see, the teachers are facing many problems, but those agents have not yet touched the real need of the teachers. What they have, for example, the issue of the salary is a big problem. Another issue is those teachers that have now reached the age of retirement. You see where they go home with a very little package. So another issue, those people who are speaking the teachers, for example, here in Tanzania, we have a TSC, that is the Teachers Service Commission. Of course, some problems, but there are others, so many problems that teachers are facing have not yet touched. So I think if given a time to speak what is in their what, in their mind, what are they facing? So I don't think the problem has solved already. There's still a problem. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. We now have Hanifa, and I'd love to hear Hanifa's thoughts on the same. And I like your comment, Hanifa, where you're mentioning that you'd like to see platforms where teachers can be allowed to share ideas and solutions. Just to get a bit more insight from you, how do you think those platforms should be structured so that the right people can actually hear from the teachers, so that these ideas, these solutions can get to the right people, packaged as voices of teachers?
Hello, everyone. This is Nakainda Hanifa, a teacher in a secondary school called Ginger College in Uganda. As one of the teachers who is really giving a service, giving a delivery, I would like to see myself doing it in a safe environment where I'm supported, a safe environment where I'm given chance to exercise my duty, to do research, and be availed with the possible tools that can help me. In this one, some of the possible tools is being given a platform where I can be able to share what is affecting me socially, emotionally, professionally, so that after sharing my experience to the administrators or even to my colleagues, that reflection that I have done with them can lead us into a collaboration, can lead us into a conversation that can help us to see ways of coming out of challenges, ways of fostering new things that we can do so that we can remain relevant, we can remain appreciated in our field of teaching. Even then, when these platforms have been put in place, this is where our administrators and the government and other stakeholders are going to be brought on board, to be enlightened about what teachers are going through. And with a variety of the many who are coming into this teaching learning process, you'll find that at least we shall be able to get various ways out of which we can come out of this. To give an example specifically, when communities share and people know what teachers are going through emotionally, professionally, and socially, NGOs like STAR, they come out, STAR Education come out. NGOs like Enable, they come out. NGOs like SESEMAT, they come out and partner with the Ministry of Education and Sports. And through that, the government creates policies which are extended down to the communities in the schools where teachers can channel their issues and therefore they get a hand. It is all about networking. It's all about collaboration. It's all about reflecting and sharing experiences that people come to learn of what is affecting a certain community and therefore venturing into ways of listening to them and therefore helping them. But the biggest challenge is the government. Yes, we say that the government is us, the people, but at the end of that day, we have those ones in authority. When those in authority have not been enlightened, they will not know what is happening in the field. They will not know how the teacher is suffering in the classroom. So through organizations and agencies, we find these voices being extended to the ministry. We find voices going into the government, and at the end of the day, the government does policies. However, I can say that there is a very big divide in schools in Uganda. You find that those ones which are urban, in an urban setting like mine, perhaps teachers have been listened to. They have been given a freedom of speech, freedom of expression. But talk about the rural areas where the head teacher is the might of it all, where the managing committees are the might of it all. The teacher has not been given a platform. So we are saying that when these platforms have been put in place, teachers can be listened to and solutions can be worked out. Yes, there is still a very big problem in my country. And we thank you people who are thinking about bringing such a platforms where we can share our ideas, where we can be listened to. Perhaps one day, one time, we shall get a voice that listens to us, and therefore we get a good teacher, social, professional, mental well-being. Yes, I submit.
Thank you, Hanifa. And thank you for telling us we can come and learn from you. You mentioned your school is in the urban setting where teachers are hard. Would love to come and learn from you. As we continue to speak about as we continue to talk about this platform, I want to invite Chuma to just tell me, Chuma, when do you know you feel safe enough? This is a safe space for me to share. This is a safe space for me to share my ideas, to share my solutions. This is a safe space for me to be vulnerable. Are you able to describe for us when you feel that way? This could be something you experience, or you have experienced, or you desire to experience.
Environment, or this platform is free for me to make a decision. It comes the time where maybe I can share my opinion with no any disturbance. When I say with no any disturbance, it means I share my opinions freely. But here in Tanzania, I found it is difficult for the teacher. I think here in Tanzania, there is no free room for we teachers to share our opinion or to make our decision. You can find curriculum designers are there designing for what to teach, and they bring it in schools, and teacher we are going through to implement without any judgment. But sometimes we found difficult, maybe in terms of times, in terms of environment, in terms of number of teachers in class. So for me, I think if the government could allow us, we are the teachers, to share when they are making curriculum design, it could be easy for us to implement. But it comes different in that cases. In another example, here in Tanzania, there is a system for employee, which is run by the name of ESS. That ESS, it comes for employee, regardless wherever you are. Maybe you are in rural area, maybe you are in urban, maybe you are in town, maybe the network is there or is not there. They rush that ESS system and tender and what can I say? And government remind us to work through that ESS system. But ESS system, it comes difficult for we as implementers, because there is no any workshop for teachers how to use it, no any seminar, no any teacher update. So we use that platform and we found the errors, and no one who was there to help. But it comes to punish us for those who didn't score the mark as the government want. But if the government could allow us or could give us the room to share how it works, how it can be performed, how to run it in our workstation, maybe it could be easy for us to perform. And I think we should perform it better more than we did. But there is no room for us to share it. There are no room for us to share. Maybe in your curriculum design, you should do this and this. In this system of ESS, maybe we should do this and this. But the government, other educational stakeholders didn't see, or they not see how difficult it is. What they see is only for teachers to work, to perform better, regardless the challenge we face on it. Maybe for myself, I should submit this. Do you
Thank you,
understand? Okay,
yes,
thank
Chuma, I think I hear you, and I want to interpret that a little. I guess what I'm hearing is, one, teachers feel they have something to contribute, and they would appreciate a more creative process where their voices are heard even before systems are put in place, policies are put in place. So basically, I hear the challenge here is, can we move away from working on policies at the very top and just delivering them to teachers, but doing this together? But also at the same time, I think what I'm also hearing, Chuma, is you want to be able to give feedback on what's working and what's not working. You want to be heard. And the pressure of just being held to results only is high time we outgrew that and looked at a balance. So beyond what you achieve as results, and these are the learner-facing results, could we also have a mechanism where your well-being as a teacher is also prioritized so that you can give these results? Now, I've had the opportunity to ask quite a few questions, and I want to open this up also to those of us who are on the call. If you have, today is a very rare privilege. We have teachers from Tanzania, from Kenya, and Uganda. It might be one of the few rare opportunities that you could ask a question to a teacher in Uganda, in Tanzania, or Kenya. And I want to invite you just to be bold enough to unmute or put up your hand, and we can guide this. and you can ask a question freely towards the teachers. So yeah, I'm watching out for the first hand that comes up. I'll take 3 questions. And you can feel free to address this to any of the teachers. Could be the Ugandan or all the teachers, or the Tanzanians or Kenyans.
Oh, thank you. I really would love to hear from my dear teachers from Kenya and Tanzania, how they handle collaboration. What I've seen in Uganda as somebody who works with teachers is we have small competitions that usually arise. That is a very big that is a very big block to collaboration. For instance, you find schools within the same environment, they start competing over who is passing exams better than the other. And as such, teachers are locked in. They can no longer share what is working for us in our school that makes us pass, because as they pass more children, they start being the beacon, sort of the giant among the dwarfs, which to me, I think, limits something that we would have brought out if the schools in that region collaborate. So is it the same case in Kenya and Tanzania, or you people do it differently? That's what I would love to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Godfrey. Hanifa, your hand is up. Are you offering an answer, or you want to add to that question? Go for it, Hanifa, and then I'll request Patrick from Tanzania and Duta to respond to these questions. But Hanifa, you can go first.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'd like to say that the only way how a problem can be solved is by talking about it and sharing your mind. I mean, when you're given that platform to share, when you're given an ear to be listened to, then things like collaboration, then fostering way out can be brought on table. And in this is why I said that when private organizations come in to help to send our voice forward, then the collaboration can be. I always talk too much about STAR. STAR education has helped us that our head teachers on board first. They enlighten them on the challenges that we have in our schools and what we are supposed to do. Then later on, they call us the teachers. So through that conversation between the teachers and the head teachers, through those network meetings that have been put down by STAR, at least you find that the ground goes on being leveled slowly by slowly, though we can never say that all problems can be solved at once. Collaboration, networking, reflections, it's the way to go. And that's what we are doing in some of the schools in Uganda, though not all. Thank you so much.
So Godfrey, there are already local solutions within Uganda, but let's hear from Tanzania. Kaya, what does collaboration look like in while still maintaining the spirit of competition?
Oh, thank you very much, Nganga. Here in Tanzania, we have government school. You have to know that we have government school where they use both Kiswahili and English. Of course, Kiswahili is the medium of instruction, and English is taught as a subject in primary school, starting from, pre and primary. But in secondary, all subjects in English, and only one subject, Kiswahili, is taught in as a subject. So there is a private school that is, we call them English medium, and the government schools. So we collaborate. But here in Tanzania also, we have the schools that are remote areas and those in urban areas, where the performance differs according to the environment. You find the schools that are in rural areas, the number of teachers in those schools is very low. So you cannot compare the performance of the school in rural area to the performance of the school in urban area. But what we do here now, we come together in our wards, in our local government, we share together, we meet in the we gather in the meeting, okay? So we share the experience, regardless you are remote area or you're urban, whether you are private school or you are government school. And good enough in Tanzania, if the private school and the government school, they do only one exam and they share. The government is controlling what is taught, because we use the same curriculum. What matters, what changes is only the language. So we collaborate, we share experience, we visit each other, we share a lot of experience. That's what I can say. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for sharing those insights. And Nduta, would you like to add something to the conversation? I see Dennis, your hand is up. You come next after Nduta.
I think in Kenya, we don't have that problem anymore. It used to be there during the 844 because the curriculum was merit-based. But now with the competency-based curriculum where we don't have competition, we don't have ranking, there is no this school was best, this was worst. So all teachers are collaborating now, especially now that we are navigating. It's a very new thing to most of us, so we are still navigating. I think what they can do, maybe talk, find some like-minded teachers, talk with them, and then from there you'll go and build the group, will become bigger and bigger, and maybe it can go up to the whole country later. Thank you.
Speaking towards the power of peer-to-peer learning. Dennis,
Yes.
you've had a hand up for some time. So I'll give you an opportunity to ask your quick question. And then I suspect Patrick wants to add something. So Dennis, go for it, and then Patrick, you follow.
Thank you very much. I have two questions for teachers in Kenya, teachers from Kenya and Tanzania. And so my first question is that what opportunities are available for professional growth and development in the two countries? And then secondly, how does their motivation impact students' learning outcomes and academic performance in the two different countries? Over to you.
Thank you, Dennis. Patrick, would you like to respond to that question as you also share your insights?
Okay, let me take first, let me maybe add something to the previous question on collaboration, which I think it's something possible, it's something doable, but it has to begin from a point of building strong relationships between the collaborating schools, because number one, they must create an environment of mutual respect and trust, so that now the issue of communication, the issue of competition doesn't arise. Because once there is mutual trust and respect among the schools that are collaborating, and especially the leadership, then it becomes very, very easy. And then once that one has been done, then these schools now come together even to share on the best practices. And now the schools collaborating, and then now create platforms whereby now they're going to share on the best practices, maybe issues of lesson plans and challenges on lesson delivery and something like that. Then once that one is done and the expectations have been set, then it becomes very easy to navigate through. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for that response. I want to invite one more teacher just to share their thoughts based on the question we just had from Dennis. Diana, we still have you. Feel free to unmute and also just add your weight to that particular question. Hanifa, go for it as we wait on Diana.
Thank you so much, panelists. We are saying that it's high time, now that in the Ugandan kind of teaching, we have the new curriculum where we are emphasizing soft skills like communication skills, being confident, being assertive, that even in the training institutions and universities, the teachers who are going to be rolled out, they should be taught in that new curriculum format, because it's like some universities, they are still taking it in the old curriculum where it's knowledge-based rather than looking at the competencies. When teachers come out of universities, when they are competent, when they reach down in schools, they will stand for their voice. They will stand for their voice. They will be confident enough to share what is affecting them. And therefore, they will seek to be given chance to exercise solutions that they have thought that can help them. Teaching them how to be confident as they come down to the schools, they will be confident to talk about their issues. we know that once a problem is talked about, then it's like as if it has been half solved. I mean, emotionally, they will feel that they have been heard. Emotionally, they will feel that they have been given a platform to exercise what they think they can work out for them. After all, everyone needs employment and everyone needs money. So they will always look into ventures that are going to make their work and social well-being safe for them to exercise their duty. So training institutions should also change the way they are training the teachers so that when they come out, they're assertive, they are confident, they can communicate well, and they can express themselves. Thank you so much.
Good. I like that. So we're bringing out competencies for teachers that speak towards their self-efficacy, their confidence. I like that emphasis. Now, we've heard from the teachers for some time, and I just want us to shift gears a little in this particular session. And to do that, I'll hand over to Carol so that we can be able to speak a little more, deep dive a bit more into this conversation into smaller groups. So I'll hand over to Carol to guide us through that session. We're still within good time, so bear with us. If you're feeling tired where you are, feel free to just stretch, standard stretch briefly as we continue. Over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Nganga, for that. Yeah, it's part of our well-being as well. So you can stretch a little where you are, but I think for me, what's interesting and why this conversation is very interesting for me is to see when our teachers are given an opportunity to really have a voice, the amount of information and, rethinking of how we do even our programming as non-governmental organizations, CSOs, how these voices can actually contribute. I was listening to the teacher share, and Patrick said, we are not even given on school days to think about our work and structure what we want to actually come and teach. And it got me thinking of how we are very keen as NGOs to sometimes say, we don't want to get the teachers out of their classes. So during the school hours, we are very clear that, we cannot get them out of the classroom. But then we want to utilize their Saturdays and Sundays. So it got me thinking also on how do we engage the teachers, even in what we are currently doing, so that even as we are engaging them and we are doing all the work that we are doing, especially around building their capacity and their professional development, that we are also not taking away from their well-being and encouraging and ensuring that as much as now we are having these conversations, that we are also really the first people to ensure that their well-being is also enhanced and their agency is enhanced. And I have, since I am the moderator of this session, I have the liberty to make just a slight change, Nganga, and I have seen one of the people that work with school leaders in this call, and I would like to give him an opportunity to say something. I am sorry, Abraham Okumba, for ambushing you with this, but it would be good to hear from you and listening today from the teachers speak about what teacher well-being and what teacher agency means to them and what they have been doing, what we can do. It would be good to hear from you for just 1 minute on what you think, and especially because I know you work a lot with school leaders and that is your main core work that you do at Global School Leaders. Abraham?
Okay, all right, thank you. And sorry for joining in late. I came from another meeting. So, no, I think even though I didn't hear much about what teachers shared, but at this moment, I think what I could share is that I think agency is exercised within a space, and that if teachers have the space to do the things they think are important for the students they're teaching, then I think they'll be more willing to take those decisions. So I think at all levels, there needs to be room to be able to exercise one's ability to decide that which they think is going to give them more success in the space where they are working in. because I think it is difficult for a teacher to exercise agency when room is not provided for them to do that. And the same will apply to the school leader. And so what that means is that then it becomes difficult to demand accountability from a teacher in terms of doing or not doing certain things without interrogating the environment within which they work, whether that environment actually permits them or gives them room to do the things that we are asking them to do. And the same applies to school leaders. Like they do not work in a vacuum. They have a context, they have an environment, they have people they report to and things like that. They have policies that are governing the things or the decisions that they are taking. And so if we go there and then we are expecting them to do or not to do certain things, then we need to interrogate the environment within which they work to see whether that environment actually gives them space to be able to exercise the agency that we are expecting them to undertake. So I think it is something that depends on many things. It is not just like a personal choice for someone to do or not to do something, but there could be things that are coming from the person themselves, yes. But I think a lot more needs to be pinned on the environment or the context in which like these players work in, both at school leader level and even at teacher level. And the chain just continues, even those ones that are above the school leaders, like which context are they working in that is making them to be able to do this or to undertake this or not to. And I think even when you think about certain these concepts like behavioral science that now people are paying a lot more attention on, you come to realize that there are certain things that we maybe forget to pay attention to. Things like what will make people not to adopt these things that we are asking them to, and why what in the context will make people to be unwilling to be able to pick on these things that we're actually expecting them to pick. So I think in terms of working with either of these groups, it's important that we also look at like the context in which they work and be able to identify the things that will make them not to undertake the things that we are encouraging them to undertake, or even unwilling to be able to undertake the things that we're expecting them to undertake. I think that's what I can share for now.
Right. Thank you so much, Abraham, for being willing to share. I know I ambushed you, but I thought it was important. And I think we can see the connection of even understanding. And this really speaks to what policies exist that will allow us to amplify teacher agency and also their well-being. So I think Abraham has left us with a lot to think about when it comes to amplifying teacher agency and also teacher well-being. And I think it's a good point to allow us to move into the next session, which is going to be our breakout sessions. And you'll allow us to just do 10 minutes of it so that we just get to hear a little bit more and reflect in those breakaway sessions. And what we are requesting is that we've had a lot today from our teachers, especially around issues of the teacher well-being, and especially on the challenges, on the things that they have defined to be what they understand as teacher well-being: social, emotional, physical. And they spoke about making sure that they can express themselves. So we've had a lot. But then the question is, for us who are working with the teachers, what is it we can prioritize? And I like what Abraham has told us, to think about the context that they're working in, to think about what are those enablers and what policies exist and what is the system like for us to be able to engage them. So possibly let's think about what is it that we can do and what role can we play to amplify issues on teacher well-being and their agency, but also what is it that we can take forward and who probably should take it forward. Is it for us? And possibly, I think I would request that we become a little bit more specific on who are these people that we think can take it forward. If it's the non-governmental organizations, if it's the NGOs, we'll be specific. So we are going to go into our breakaway rooms and we are going to be discussing two things only. One thing is, after hearing from the 3 countries, what do we prioritize on the issues that they have spoken about in terms of teacher well-being, and what role can we play as NGOs, CSOs that are working with teachers to amplify their issues on teacher well-being and agency, and then what is it we can take forward. So I would request, when you go into your breakaway rooms, please appoint a chair and someone to report back, because we'll have just a few minutes to share back to the group, and then we'll take it from there. Welcome back. That must have been a very short session. I am sure there was a lot going on in the breakaway rooms. So I will hand this over to Jane. Jane, if you could also, and we request that you allow us to take 5 more minutes of your time. So Jane, over to you so that we can hear some thoughts from, I think all the rooms are back. Yes, I think so. So Jane, if you could take this and lead this, and then we'll borrow some 5 minutes from the team that's still here. Go ahead,
Okay.
Jane.
Wow. Would like to hear from you, share back from the breakout room sessions. And from the breakout room sessions, each group will be able to tell us what is there an interest in continuing this conversation? What is the one thing that needs to be done to improve teacher agency and well-being in the classroom, community, and system level? And then what support structures might be needed for this? I'm just going to post this in the chat and hear from you as you prioritize this from your breakout rooms. From the breakout rooms, we would love to hear quickly from the team, what is the one thing that each room is prioritizing? What is it we need to prioritize in regard to teacher agency and well-being? And then what support structures might be needed for this? Over to you. Let's hear from the breakout rooms.
Jane, I can quickly go first because I can summarize mine. We had good representation of teachers, and I think a couple of things are coming out. One, in terms of practice, is there room created for teachers to take breaks, for them to reflect, to introspect, or do they just run through the curriculum from term to beginning to end of term? So how do we consider that? Also, they are very good performing teachers. We call them teacher champions. How do we get more of those who are well-resourced and within particular regions so that they can support each other through peer learning? There's a question of appreciation, and there's an emphasis that we not only need to appreciate the teacher, but also the learner. Reason being, if the teacher is appreciated and the learner is not, that still affects the teacher. So how do we strike a balance in how that is done for both of them? So the non-state actors, the NGOs here have been challenged to do a couple of things. One is to create platforms where we can communicate, where teachers can talk to each other, where teachers can talk to the duty bearers. These are the education officials, share their feedback, and also are able to have their concerns raised in that particular forum, feeling safe. So what can NGOs do as their advocates? The second one is what resources can we provide? And one of the things that was highlighted, that stress goes beyond just finances. There's also personal and mental issues. Other NGOs that can offer support and coping strategies for teachers. Information is power, and that also shared could work in a big way. And the last point is around the power of school leadership. If we strengthen that, then this should trickle down in terms of creating room where there is well-being addressed, but also agency is encouraged. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Nganga is very well summarized. Can we hear from group 2, breakout rooms? Keep it quick and short.
I'll represent group 2. Instead of just repeating what Nganga said, I'll mention on the structures that need to be created to support these agencies. And one of the things that we discussed is if it is possible to create support systems, both internally in schools and externally, so that at least the teachers can have an opportunity of sharing what they are going through and find a way of supporting them with representatives who are not teachers themselves within the school. So we thought that within the school, the teachers should have a safe place where they can share what they are going through, and also have another kind of a system where they can be able to share also their issues that is not within the school. And that maybe may come in through the Ministry of Education, and or even for us who are in the NGO world, helping them to create such systems so that we can be able to take care of their well-being. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Anne, for being spot on and summarizing on that, on those few issues. Group 3, can we hear your reflections as well? Breakout room that were, one key issue that stood out, what do we need to prioritize? I think the teachers said everybody emotional support to reduce teacher burnout. And the role of NGOs can be to amplify this in collaboration with government ministries of the education or system stakeholders that support education. 2, there was also a proposal that school leaders can drive recognition through shout-outs in meetings, letters of recognition, give teachers a safe space to highlight these issues or maybe teacher challenges. And again, school leaders were prioritized as key enablers. School leaders can allow a culture that promotes teacher agency in schools, but also support teachers to have a calm mind. And also school leadership can support, they can create learning centers whereby teachers can be able to speak out. And lastly, the administrators or school leaders can create a positive mindset. They themselves be change agents and be critical in supporting teacher well-being and teacher agency. And then there was also the role of government, that government can be very key in this. We can use this to advocate for teacher agency and teacher well-being. And then there was a proposal that all of us have a role to play. For example, we can advocate, government can take on a key role. Also, NGOs have a role to play in this. And then we should contextualize what works for teachers. And then co-creation is very important. And lastly, what works in the environment is very key. For example, what is working for teacher voice? When a teacher speaks, what do people hear? Is it legitimate? Then we take it on. Or is it hearsay? Thank you. Over to you. Last, do we have any group that has not presented? Is there any group that has not shared back? Well, if not, I just want you to type one thing. Yes? I just want you to type one thing in the chat. What needs to be? Is there an interest in continuing this conversation? Let's hear from 1 or 2 people and then get back to Nyambura. Catherine, can we hear from you? What are your thoughts on those 3 questions? And then we proceed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I find teacher well-being and agency to be something that is emerging, and of course, the voices of the teachers have to be heard. So I find it to be a very interesting conversation to advance and even to advocate for. Yeah, that's what I could see, and I see the role of different actors and stakeholders to engage along the process, because when you visit the schools, I've been visiting there, the teachers are really burning out at that level and they don't have someone to speak for them. So it's good that we raise our voices as a team, and then we advance and we hear out what is happening within their hearts and within the context, as you earlier communicated. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So from Catherine, it's important that we continue this conversation because teacher voice is critical. Teacher agency is one of the critical things. Teacher well-being matters because all these contribute to the learning outcomes and they contribute to engagement at a school level, but also it's a national conversation. Lastly, can we hear somebody from Kenya share their thoughts, and Uganda? Then we get back to Nyambura. I see Patrick Gilbert.
Okay, thank you very much. I share the opinion that this is a very interesting conversation to even carry on with, because teacher well-being and teacher agency have got a direct impact on even in the learning outcomes. And these are conversations that once it's brought, it's carried forward, and I believe the whole the environment of teaching, the teaching environment will be so conducive for a good outcome even at school level. So I do think that it's important that we are even supported to carry out this kind of conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick Gilbert, for your contribution. And lastly, Lumbuye Kasasa, Nicholas, can we hear from you?
Yeah. Hello. And within the group, I was able to share some aspects which I thought would be interesting in with what we could do as organizations. And from what has been shared, I think what could help the organizations is resources that are maybe formulating or being able to come up with resources at limited cost, and of course work through the different organizations to share some of these resources to help teachers improve their mental health or well-being, to be better implementers or facilitators of the new curricula or their work in general. Working through the different organizations to supplementarily provide some of these free resources, I think would be nice to look into.
Thank you very much. We've heard from all the three countries, teacher voice and teacher agency, as well as teacher well-being is a critical conversation that we should continue engaging. Back to you, Nyambura.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you to all of us for this engaging webinar on centering teacher well-being and agency. And because we've had 3 reflections from different participants on whether this is a conversation that we would like to take forward, we will consider that as our closing reflections. So mine is really just to say that what we think and what I have had throughout the conversations and throughout the dialogue is that there is a need, first of all, to really interrogate the contexts that teachers are working in, to be able to understand how we can amplify their well-being as well as their agency. But beyond the understanding, and one way for us to understand is to make sure we also provide a platform for them, because we need to learn from them. They also need to learn from us. So I do think that part of our next steps should be really to see if really Africa can become that platform for teachers to exchange learnings, for us to hear from them, and for also other partners to come and engage on issues of teacher well-being. And it is our hope that the 3 organizations that led us in these discussions today, that is Dignitas, we have STAR Uganda, and we have Sawa Wanawake from Tanzania, that you will help us to think around what this would look like. And I hope that this is something that we can all continue talking about in the spirit of amplifying teacher agency and well-being. I'd also like to thank our teachers. Thank you so much for participating in this. I think this is one of a kind webinar, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I have attended another webinar where we have actually listened to teachers as much as we have done today. So thank you so much, Emmanuel, Chuma, Nduta, Hanifa. Who else am I forgetting? Kabela. Who have I forgotten?
Kalondu.
Kalondu, yes, I mentioned Chuma. Nduta,
Gilbert.
thank you so much. And Gilbert, Patrick as well. Gilbert is Patrick, yes. So thank you so much all for attending, and thank you to all of you for being here. We'll see you next. As we said, this is probably just the first of a series of this kind of webinars and dialogues. So be on the lookout for the next one. And as I said, my name is Nyambura Thiongo. I work at the Regional Education Learning Initiative as the Kenya Country Coordinator. Thank you, and do have a lovely evening.